Visit AnsonPDR.com for the largest selection for just about all your PDR tools, where you'll find hog glue and hog tabs.
Mobile Tech RX, the app that helps you make more money.
Boys and girls, children of all ages, this is PDR Tool Time, episode 237 with your hosts, Vince D'Alessandro, Daniel Grom, and John Renstrom. We are here today talking about tools, reviews, and stories having to do with the paintless dent removal industry. I hope you are along for the ride for the whole episode. We'll be having an action-packed episode talking about some tools, talking about the hail trail, getting ready for the off-season, and things like that. So, what do you guys have to say?
All right, right on. Well,
that was good announcer voice. That was really nice.
I know. I was expecting to hear the movie rating, whether I could, whether this was going to be G.
I thought I was getting on the monorail or something.
Well, next stop, San Diego.
I just chugged a big old bottle of espresso, so I'm all charged up and ready to go with our podcast for today.
All right. Well, how was your guys' week? So we're recording this on a Sunday. I had the whole week off, and I didn't do squat but drive around.
I'm proud of you. Daniel, you're smoky, huh?
I'm smoky.
Oh yeah, I can believe it.
And I smashed my finger. Have you ever drilled out your fingernail?
Yes, many times.
So I had to drill out my fingernail and bleed it out.
Oh. That always sucks.
Now, what did you do? Do you use a hot needle into it, or what?
No, I actually put a drill bit in my drill, a little small drill bit, and I just and I just kind of have it stand there. I push the nail against it. I don't put the drill against it.
See, now I just took a lighter and always heated the end of a paper clip, unfolded the paper clip, heated it red hot, and just it melted right through.
Yeah, you can do that too.
Pretty much the blood spurting out of the hole afterwards cools the paper clip off.
Yeah, my son
cooked hot dogs.
My son smashed his finger, and we went up to your neck of the woods, Daniel. We were at Hearst Castle this one year, and we stopped at Pismo Beach, and he went into the water and got a staph infection in his finger, right? And we didn't know until like 2 days later, and we took him to the doctor, and he drilled that out. It shot across the room. It was so disgusting. It was like,
awesome.
Yeah.
You should have filmed that. That would have been good YouTube stuff.
Yeah, I was more busy throwing up in the garbage can.
The worst I had was I smashed my hand with a 3-pound sledgehammer. I was moving the whole side of a van. We had it all clamped into place, and I was perfecting the door gaps before we welded this back together. This was way back in the mid to late 90s, and I had a big 2x4. So I was trying to move the entire side of this van and get it, a 16th of an inch away. Yeah. Because I was doing such a large surface area hit, and I was having to swing pretty hard, and the board slipped, and I followed it just instinctually, my location, and I went right down and just smashed the crap out of my finger.
You break it?
I couldn't. Well, I kind of shattered towards the end of it, but it just swelled up so bad from so much blood trapped under the nail and everything. I actually had to drive up to my dad's house and have him help me because I couldn't get the. Yeah, exactly, Vince. I could not get the paperclip hot enough at the same time and get it to my nail. It would cool off too fast and wouldn't melt through my nail. So I had to get somebody who had two hands to assist me. I couldn't do it one-handed.
Yeah. Yeah, I will.
The hazards of our job.
Well, yeah, it wasn't when I cut my fingertip off. It wasn't our job. I used to work in the printing industry prior to PDR, and had the tip of my finger chopped off and sewn back on.
Our visual listeners, we've got a very ugly finger on Vince's hand.
Yeah, you could usually see it in pictures when I'm showing off tools. It's like, what the hell's wrong with this finger? Looks like a penis head. It's weird.
Well, that's a very interesting twist and turn that we took here, so
yeah. Well,
this week I gotta do a shout out to Tequila Tools. So I've been working on a lot of doors lately that are, how big doors are getting now. Doors are just getting huge.
What do you mean by big? You mean like just the size, or they're bulging out?
Yeah, lengthwise, from the window down to the bottom.
Right. Okay.
That's getting larger, especially like a Toyota Tundra. Mm-hmm. That door is huge.
Yeah.
That door is huge. And I've been using the Door Lords that you guys sent me, and with the ratcheting hand, or what are those handles called?
The Gorilla Grip.
Yeah. And that tool is freaking phenomenal. I forget what I was working on, but it had some sound ending material, and these things are sharp. Also, another warning out there, don't lay these tools down on the ground because they will go through your shoe. That happened to me too. So I smashed my finger and stepped on one of these tools and went through my shoe.
Yeah, I got a few holes in my hand from handling those tools at the shop. There's about a 5.5 inch throw on that foot, so they shoot out pretty far. From
yeah, and there's just a lot of leverage, and then they come in some long lengths, but still fit down a door. And then when you get that Gorilla Grip with the extension on it, you've got tons and tons of leverage. And if I didn't have that tool, I don't know if I would have been able to get the dents out, to be honest with you. I don't think there was another tool in all my arsenal that would have worked as good.
So how often do you pull the door?
Huh?
Well, how often do you pull a door?
Hardly ever.
Okay. All right. Well, it sort of leads into what we wanted to talk about today, a little bit of when to say no. Now, I mean, because we'll bid them up pretty heavy, these doors, with these monster shots at the bottoms of them, but we always plan to pull them all off because, man, the high strength steels that we're getting now and everything else, I'm finding the control of having it on a stand makes a lot more difference. But
yeah, I mean, the dent has to warrant where you're leveraging from and where you're accessing it. That's how I determine whether I pull the door off or not, is what's my access point, and is it really an advantage to pull the door off?
But you're talking about the size of the door and using the Toyota Tundra. We've got a Nissan that we just wrote, Armada, and that's another one that from the belt molding to the bottom of the door, even the low body line. Are your Door Lords reaching down? How long are they?
They're really long. The length there, Vince?
Not off the top of my head. I think the longest
one is I don't know.
It's got to be
36 inches.
It's 36 or more. It's minimum 36.
Yeah, okay. It gets way down there.
Okay. Yeah, the reason why I asked is, that you get those shots on that low body line, and you take like the Nissan, the Titan trucks, and the new Armadas, man, the door skin material on those things is just stupid strong. And we're finding that it's not worth the fight trying to go down through the top.
Yeah, and definitely. I wish there was a better way to know if a door's high strength steel or not, especially for my estimator, Tony. She goes, how am I supposed to know the difference? And, it's just knowledge based mainly.
Well, and it's up to the manufacturer. If the manufacturer's going to release it, release that data. And what I learned as we were trying to get more and more data in the MTRX high strength steel aluminum database, a lot of manufacturers will not release that information. Ford, man, I had a long conversation with the guys from Ford, and they acted like they thought we were going to try to copy their truck or something. I don't. What would I care if it was a 550 MPA versus a 440 MPA? The only thing is, it makes a difference for us as a pusher, because a 540 we can charge ultra high strength markup. 440 is supposed to be considered standard strength steel.
So, have you noticed a difference in high strength steel though? Because different models of
manufacturers, definitely.
Yeah. Right. So here's my question is, I've seen high strength steel and then super high strength steel. Is that the difference?
Yes, it's high strength steel versus ultra high strength steel, but ultimately the names are not telling at all, because it makes it sound like we have two options, and ultimately you have a variety of options just by making that strength of the metal. A different blend and different alloys are give you varying strengths of steel.
Yeah.
But where the big thing comes in is the heat that you apply. Like a body shop should not be putting a stud gun on an ultra high strength steel, say a rail, a uniside, that's made of ultra high strength steel, you shouldn't be welding that stud pin on there at all, because the dot gets it too hot and changes the temper of the metal.
Okay. And it would warp it.
Manufacturers are releasing the information. They don't know. They just see the stud panel.
Luckily, the one that I know of mostly that uses that is Volkswagen, and they did release that.
Now, just to re-clarify, that Door Lord is 25 inches. The longest one is 25 inches long.
Okay.
All right, cool. Thanks. So
great tools. Highly recommend them. Go out and buy them.
Well, there's two different ones now on the Door Lords. You have the blade, which is a blunt tip, and then you have the super sharp ones, which is like just the regular Door Lord set.
Oh, I would actually like both.
Okay.
Well, I will clarify. I do not have the Door Lords, so I'm at the mercy.
You're not a side panel guy.
Well, no, because by the time we're doing them, they're so bad we're taking them off. So, and I don't do enough door dents.
You're a hail guy.
But that brings us around. We were talking, when to say no. So when do you say no on a nasty door dent job, Daniel? Vince? When did you guys say, what would drive you to say no?
Here's the important thing. I think when guys are first getting in, their skill set's not up to par yet. And they're more likely to say probably yes to things because they're hungry for work, maybe. But it's to their advantage to know when to say no. When you guys agree?
I disagree. I think
they should say yes, and get their skill set up.
Yes, because I think the reason how I figured out how to do smaller dents faster or medium-sized dents faster is by actually doing big, nasty dents that I could not. I didn't know my limits. I never set a limit to myself unless I never really have set a limit to what I did until later on.
I never said no either, just because I was always hungry.
Yeah.
Well, I would always want to push myself to see if I could do it. So, and I have gotten my butt whooped and gave away a lot of work because it wasn't, I didn't feel it was worth charging for.
Same here.
So, but and now I don't say no ever. And I don't know, maybe it might be causing us a few issues. So I keep my mouth shut more at this storm now than I have in the past. Cause I'll throw a number out there. I don't care if it's $100,000. I'll put a number on it. Cause it's like, sooner or later somebody may bite and I might have to do one. But I used to be like, well, I don't know if I can fix it. It might not come out. So how about $250? And then 9 hours later it's glassed. And I did it for 9 hours at $250. And it was, I missed out on doing a whole buttload of more work that paid more money.
Now you missed out on the monetary aspect of it. The learning aspect of it is
huge.
It's huge. You can't even put a number on it. And that's why early on, I remember not early on, but 2008 is when I started doing really bad Bryce Kelly like dents. You know what I mean? Like there's no way that you're going to fix that. I'm like, well, I'm going to try because there's no money to be made right now on door dings. No one's fixing door dings. And I'm going to start doing big smashes, to pay my bills, feed my family. And with, rudimentary tools. Now, you look at Bryce Kelly, he does freaking phenomenal work. But we all have that potential, I think, of doing it as long as we stretch our boundaries. And I don't know.
I think John touched on the right answer is you got to throw the right number out.
Sure.
On something that's questionable. And at least you're getting paid right to attempt it. But also knowing your customer and getting their feedback is super important, where they want you to try and they take responsibility for you not getting it out.
I think
or paying less.
Yes. And what I found was by doing that, you knew maybe half hour, 40 minutes into it, if you're going to succeed or not.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, though, is the mental aspect of this profession is just as important as the physical aspect in my mind, because you have to be of a mindset to push yourself, and not every person on the planet desires to push themselves at that same level. They only want to stay in their comfort zone, and that's fine as long as you know your limitations. I just never I wasn't sure how far I could take it. I love to see how far I can go. And man, with the tools that we have now, the technology, and not to mention, I see this on Facebook, but and this got posted a little while back. Somebody's like, well, we only ever see the smashes and nobody shows the mundane and everyday. Well, that is true, but part of the joy of showing those smashes is somebody else goes, well, crap, I just turned that down.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, and exactly. Maybe I should
do it. I can do it.
Yeah. I've met that knucklehead in real life. If that dink can do it, then I can. And there is a lot to that, because I can remember as a young tech just getting started. I wasn't, I guess, that young. I was in my 30s, but you'd be just pushing on that dent in that last 10%, that we all discuss, that hardest 10%, and be like, it's locked. I screwed this one up. Nobody can get it, and a veteran walks over there and is like, huh. And you're like, I'm an ass. I just spent the last 30 minutes struggling on it. You walked over in 15 seconds, and so my goal was I wanted to be that guy that could walk over and help somebody learn that in that 15-second push.
Yeah.
So I pushed myself hard. And Vince, like you said, being faster on that smaller dent, the only way to do that is to get that big dent down to that little dent and get that little dent.
Yeah. Now, I have a funny feeling the reason why we're even talking about this week is because Daniel called me. I think it was Tuesday. Did you call me?
Yeah.
You were on the roof and you were questioning your sanity, whether or not, why did I do this?
Yeah.
You called everybody, didn't you?
It was a Chevy Colorado. Yeah, I called you too. And a tree fell on it and the whole thing was caved in. So it was caved in probably a 4-foot round. And so when I estimated, I looked at it, you couldn't see the bottom really that well. You couldn't tell it was stretched until the majority was pushed out. And so the first thing I did is I take my air-powered suction cup slide sledge and pop most of it out. And then I looked at it and I go, oh boy, that's really stretched right where the branch hit. Yeah. But then I thought, okay, but I've got a roof, no sunroof. It's wide open inside. I had dropped it all down. And so I knew I could use the Power PDR box to shrink it up. And so I pushed most of it up and it was nice, big, smooth dome, but lots of little, lakes and valleys and stuff, and started using, and that's when I called you guys, is using this Power PDR box. I don't use it as much as you guys have. And so I was asking questions about it and it was working really well, but basically it's still a big smooth dome. Now it's just a smoother dome than it was before, but it's still a smooth dome. And there's one spot in it that still wants the oil can because part of it's underneath the brace. I couldn't use the Power PDR.
Cross-check, Daniel. Cross-check. There's something hiding there.
I've been cross-checking the shit out of this thing. It's still overstretched metal.
But wait, you were dealing with that lined undercoating that's on the bottom of that panel as well.
Yeah. So I ended up using 3 different types of tools. So I have a nice little battery-powered Milwaukee angled die grinder. That thing is the best thing you could ever have for an area like this. Works so good. And I ended up using the one what's the wheels that look like they're black, woven, looks like
lock disc.
They've always just called them material removers when I've ordered them. But you can buy them at hardware stores.
They look like black seaweed or something. Or they have openings in them and stuff. That worked the best on that. And the soundproofing material was hell. I mean, it made a huge mess getting that stuff off, but I had to get it all off. But the Power PDR box is pretty friggin' amazing how well it works and how nice it smooths things out.
They're called Roloc discs, ROLOC.
Okay.
Well, the Roloc disc is the type of holder onto them, but that woven one, 3M calls it their paint and rust stripper wheel. Yeah. And you can get that with the Roloc head on it or the ones that go into the end of a drill.
Or with the Scotch-Brite on there.
Yep.
Yeah, I tried the Scotch-Brite. The Scotch-Brite, I think is better for just removing paint.
Yes,
and then I used an aggressive sanding disc and tried that, but the other one worked better.
All right. Now the $64 million question. Did you refinish the bottom side of the panel, Dan?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Just making sure. Gonna have to lecture you.
So I haven't delivered the car. The car's still here. It goes to detail next on Monday, and for them to take all the scratches out from the branches and stuff.
Yeah. Now, did you try to recreate that undercoating underneath there, that ribbed undercoating that you had?
Didn't. I do not possess that technology.
I'm wondering about trying. Well, I was trying a different thing. We used the sound deadener pads, Yeah.
I didn't remove that much of it, to be honest with you, because it was done in patches. So I only had to remove like corners of parts of it.
Okay. Know? Yeah. You didn't remove the whole thing.
No. So there's still a lot up there.
So, here's the point. When to say no. You did not say no.
Yeah. And here's why, because I'm getting paid $2,000 to do it.
Right.
All right. That's what I was going to ask. So you regret doing it?
It did take me longer. It became a point to where I was like, I'm determined now, to make it look as good.
Sure. But you really questioned yourself for quite a while in there.
Yeah. There's times in looking back on it, I'll know once the customer looks at it and tells me if he's happy with it or not. If he's happy with it, it's white, it's on a roof. So those are the other two kind of forgiving points of it, Is it
still an oil can or no?
No, it's just a smooth round dome. Okay. It's not flat. I had to spread it out as far as I could, and I blended it out as far as I could. So it looks actually really good. I mean, it looks good, but I'm critical.
Right. And the mound is extremely subtle.
Yeah. It's very subtle.
So, because something that we're doing on the roofs is because we know how far we really push the limits of the power PDR box with some body shop jobs. So we had an out if we screwed it up. And believe me, I screwed it up when I let the magic smoke out of the paint on a hood once. But what we're really looking for on those roofs that before we say yay or nay is that brace. And if it's, like a Nissan brace, those are mostly anti-vibration braces. They got a big gap between them anyhow. So we can, we're happy to do a stretch dent under there because we can cut out the glue spot, re-put the glue spot in when we're all said and done. And it's no big deal. We can get a tool between that brace. But take a Ram 1500 that's got that 18-inch brace that runs through the whole middle of the roof. You're screwed. If that's got a giant stretch dent, then we know that's an automatic no. Because what we would have to do to shrink that would be compromise the integrity of the entire truck. Mm-hmm. So that is the only thing that we're using to say no for what we're doing. Otherwise, and we're throwing a number on it. And if we get a yay, we're going to town, even if it takes 2 days to do a panel. So
that's crazy. Well, okay. So it's monetary for you guys.
Well, no, not all. No, I think it's a combination. I think that's our point here is you need to know what the customer expectations are. If they're saying, "Oh, just try your best," that's your license to, give them what you can give them.
But it's also the learning. I've done it cheaper. And if I'm up for the challenge or I want the challenge or anything like that, or say the paint is damaged beyond any buffing or anything like that. And it's like, well, I can only get it so close. It's still worth X amount of my time,
Yeah.
Sometimes you get lucky though. Sometimes you suction it out and you're like, oh, there's hardly anything left. Bueno.
And sometimes I want to pay for the lesson. So I'm doing it for a little bit less because I want to know what it's going to take to fix something like that.
Sure. Or the bragging rights, that goes a long way.
Yeah. Daniel wants to be famous.
No, you can use those before and after pictures.
Sure.
But if you're doing a dent like that in a dealership, let's say,
yeah,
and you impress the management, they're going to think you're a god and they're going to just say, hey, this is the only guy we want to use now because of that. possibly.
I never found that in dealers, but I did what
Body
Vince
shops
was saying. Yeah. What Vince was saying, though, and Daniel, kind of what you were saying early on, when you're unsure of yourself, man, the dealerships, you had that large margin of error and you were still going to make X dollars. So as long as the dollars paid your bills, you got to find out how far you could push it. So when you did do a retail one, you could get paid all the money and you knew how far you could take things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially when we're talking about cracking paint and that risk of cracking paint.
Now, here's a good example of a customer. So we had a customer come in and he had a smashed hatchback and it was obviously stretched. Could I have worked on it? There's probably maybe a 10% chance that I would have been able to get it out, be honest with you. So it was that bad. But then I was judging the customer and I could tell he was just trying to save a buck. And that's the kind of customer that will complain about if you are really proud of your work for how bad it was. And you're like, God, this customer better be happy after all the work I just did. And this thing looks phenomenal considering the way it did look. And then you bring it to them and they go, oh, I can still see it. Oh, and then you're like pissed.
Yeah.
You're like, what? I just polished a turd for you and you're not happy.
Yeah.
That sucks. So knowing that customer, and that's what this customer was. And I said, nope, can't be done. Knew right away. Right. And you guys judge
what.
Hold on, guys. We lost connection real quick. My bad.
Shop. Seems that the push for paints, I could never make them happy. They would want it to be glass and then they would send it out the door without paint. And I had this discussion with the body shop owner and, and he's just looking at me as I'm telling him all this. And he's just mad because I won't do a discounted job quality enough that they can push it out the door. And I said, why should I work the extra hard for a discounted rate? That's why I'm not doing push for paints for you.
Yeah.
And, so there goes another, exactly what you were saying. When the customer's expectation is so high and only way you can get the job is to do it dirt cheap, then that's a no, because I'm never going to make them happy. I'll never be happy myself. So why would I want a whole bunch of people miserable about what I did and send it down the road?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Vince is animated again.
Nope. Sorry about that, guys. I was trying to improve my internet connection because I was hearing an echo and it didn't work. It didn't work. So.
All right. Should we transition to the next topic or?
Yeah. I had a few guys asking me about what was going on and I'm still getting an echo.
Yep.
It's driving me bananas.
That's okay. That's because Vince is like the voice of God right now.
I am the God of Hellfire.
Joining the Hail Trail.
Joining the Hail
They
Trail.
don't have good internet out there in Texas, do they?
I'm supposed to have fiber optic AT&T BS blah 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 100 megabit pod whatever. I don't know. Something's not right. Anyways, he came out and rebuilt my whole system last weekend and it was supposed to be up to par and it's not. So anyways, and I told him I do a podcast every week. It's gone now.
Yeah, it's going in and out.
It's going in and out.
But so working at Anson now, you see everything from door dingers to the extreme end of hail, from big companies to one-man bands. And what is some of the stuff that guys are talking about being new on the Hail Trail? I know there's several people every year that are brand new.
Well, I've had quite a few technicians come into Anson ask me, hey, for recommendations where to go to do hail and stuff like that. And, we kind of do have an inside scoop as to, we could tell just by where orders are going, where the action is, and we're not sharing that information with anyone. It's really none of anyone's business but ours. That's how we conduct our business. And, if you're savvy enough, you could look at the vans and see where the vans are going, and that's usually a good indication anyways. So if you're on Facebook, you could go to, I believe it's Anson PDR Tool Vans, and they have their own group now, and they are telling you exactly where they're going. It's not always where hail is, but that's where a large concentration of technicians are. And
right.
As of lately, I've had a lot of technicians come in ask me, hey, how do I get on the hail trail? How do I start traveling doing hail damage and stuff like that? And I don't really there is no golden answer for that.
I agree.
There's guys that you see on Facebook that.
Yeah, I do. I have a golden answer for it.
What's that?
Call John Renstrom.
Oh, yeah. That's what John wants.
Call John.
No, I agree. There is no golden answer there, Vince. And yeah, like Anson, when I was still with MTRX, one of MTRX's big things was we never told anybody where a large majority of estimates were coming from. In fact, we never looked it up because it was a meaningless number for us. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say the number one thing, quit calling tool suppliers and demanding to know where the hail is. There's 1,000,001 hail reporting companies out there.
Exactly. So
we've had Hail Trace on here many times talking about it.
Yep.
We discussed NOAA. And honestly, the biggest thing is getting out there and being prepared and ready to go to work. And don't always look for the gravy storm. If you're going to be starting out and you're hungry and you're starving, be the guy willing to do every crap hood that there is that none of the other techs want to do. And you will make money and you will earn your way through and you will earn friends.
Well, let me ask you this, John. If you're working right now, if some new guy walks in the door, hey, I'm looking for work, what do you say to a guy like that?
Right now, I just give them all the advice that I can because we don't have enough work for anybody else. I mean, I took a week
comes
off.
Back every day.
So, if honestly, we put guys to work that have done that have come back every day, and but you would have to be there kind of early on. Like right now, if you show up to spearfish and come into our shop and show up every day, you're not going to go to work. I mean, the storm's 4 months old. There's not a whopping load of work. We're down to, I'm not even working full time.
Yeah.
So, but at the beginning of a storm, I've been there and I've done the crap cars.
What about just volunteering to do R&I maybe to get in?
I've been volunteered to do be the R&I guy if that's what's needed. If you're hungry, you will find a way to make money in this business.
Yeah. And I think what I find is that looking in the past, there's guys that have become rock stars on Facebook and they weren't worth a shit to fix dents, but they sure thought they were the best technicians in the world because their faces were all over Facebook. There's that route. But the main thing that happens with that is that you're making friends, right? And people are recognizing your name and whatnot. So I think a lot of the times what you need to do is get out there and socialize. And if you're not doing it on social media, that's fine. Go to where there's a storm and talk to people and go into body shops and hang out and talk to people and meet them. And hopefully you'll get something like that as well.
As well as going to MTE and
yep.
meeting people there.
Yep. And I've met local companies by just stopping into a body shop and talking with them, hey, or do you have a local guy that you're working with? I don't want to step on any toes. I mean, because we've had, as being the local guy, I can't tell you the number of times our body shop has called us up. Hey, this guy come in here and he said he does your overflow work, and it's like, we don't have overflow work, You don't have to tell a big lie or a big story when you walk through a body shop door. You can just be honest, tell them you're looking for work and what you're doing. And if they say they have a local company, ask if you can get the name of that local company and then talk with that local guy. and see if they're looking for help. Tell them that you're flexible. Most of the time I walk through a door and I'll talk estimating more than dent fixing, because every other dent fixer can talk dents. I can talk dents, and I can talk how to get the office going too, as well as R&I.
Sure.
So, have some talents, expand, understand, get to know the softwares that everybody's going to use.
Yeah.
Be flexible.
That's all good advice, man.
I think that's all good advice. I mean, you really have to make yourself known. Go to the hail prone areas where hail is hit, look at Hail Trace, look at the other apps that are out there. Get to that town, go talk to people, go meet people, go hang out at the Hooters where all the technicians are, in the strip clubs, and just meet people and get with the local people as well. So I know like this year is kind of special because DFW area did not get hit with that big storm that normally every year they get hit with. So maybe that's why I'm seeing a handful more. Actually, I wasn't here last year, so I don't know if they come in and ask Anson or not. All I know is that, I've had a handful of guys come in and ask me about that are listeners to our podcast and wanted us to at least address it and talk to them about it for a little bit. So I think we've done that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know there's, here's a topic that we could go on for days, months, years, and talking about labeling your tent free or doing wholesale versus retail, discounted work, and whether you give the discounts. Whatever is your sales pitch is your sales pitch. But I do think try to be consistent, because people know when you're blowing smoke, And hail chasing isn't new now. PDR was a little bit more behind the scenes and secretive 20 years ago. Today, it's not. So people are a lot more informed. We had a customer spend 20 minutes pouring over every jam and every spot on their vehicle looking for a flaw. I'm hearing from techs, people are looking over their cars with flashlights, wanting them in lined rooms, all sorts of bizarre pick up their car and check your work. So, just be known for your quality and doing good work and having some standards, and when to say no. I've left storms because I was like, not for me.
Yeah.
Not my thing. What's being asked of me is not what I'm willing to do. So,
yeah.
All right.
Well, that's awesome.
So on to our final subject.
What's our final subject, Daniel?
I'm doing a little remodeling.
Oh, yes.
For retail shop owners.
Yeah, for retail shop owners. First of all, I'm really excited about this. So I'm putting a flush mounted scissor lift. Sorry about that, guys. I've got a new computer and haven't turned off the notification.
Flush mounted.
Oh, I thought that was me.
In your shop floor, or for your customers?
No, it'll be a scissor lift for my car, the cars, but it's going to be flush mounted into the ground. So you'll be able to walk across it. Won't be a trip hazard or anything like that. It'll be flushed into the ground, and I'm going to have a scissor lift goes up about 4 feet.
Put a link in the show notes to the type of scissor lift that you're having installed, because I really like that idea. On those down low dents, man, be able to move the car up with it. Wow.
Only get it up, sit down. Sit down and work is so much more comfortable. If you watch me get off the ground now, you're like, is this going to take all day?
Yeah. Sounds like you have a sack of nickels in your pocket, right?
Yeah. Just creaking and groaning, and
your back sounds a little.
And I'm grabbing like parts of the car to lift myself up. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
Yeah, but honestly, it gives you the ability to do much cleaner work. I had a shop that used to review all my cars on a lift, but didn't give me a lift to be able to fix them.
Yeah.
Oh man, you get it like 5 foot off the ground and look from the bottom, and be like, I can see a flaw right there. It's like, well, leave it on the lift so I can fix it right there to get that flaw. You couldn't see it down on the ground.
No.
Yeah.
But man, if you have a retail shop, I do recommend that. But you're also doing a customer waiting area remodel too, right?
Yeah. So my shop's it's 10 years old. Roughly. and people still love it, but I'm tired of it. So I built some shelves this week.
You've had your shop longer than 10 years.
Yeah. 07.
13
years. It's
been
been
even 2020 sucks at math.
Yeah. But I said over 10 years, so whatever.
Okay.
So I built some shelves out of black pipe, and I took some regular lumber off the shelf and I burnt it with a torch, and then I put a pecan shellac on it and called it good. And it came out pretty good. It looks nice and rustic. I'm going to be doing a little bit more like rustic metal on the front counter. I've got some new chairs coming in that are really awesome looking. They look kind of like airplane parts, aluminum riveted kind of stuff going on. And so are you going like, in the past you've shown pictures of your shop and you have a very heavy retro theme going, are you keeping that, or are you adding a touch of industrial? And a touch of industrial. That's a good description of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Reclaimed wood and metal and, rust.
That's awesome.
Rocky rust.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm excited. It's kind of fun. Trying to do something.
I'm excited because football season's starting. So when this airs on Tuesday, we're recording this on Sunday, and football's about to start in about 40 minutes.
Who are you rooting for? Are you still rooting for the Bears?
The Bears. But get this, I cannot get NFL Sunday ticket in my area for some reason, so I can't watch the Bears. And there's no bars that are open, so I'm really struggling as to what to do.
They don't. What about that sports bar thing that we went to next to the baseball stadium?
That's probably open. I haven't really been to
it's like
Texas Live. Texas Live, yeah. You know what? Maybe I will venture up there, just not today.
Because that has screens for days. I mean, that thing had like 20 different screens and then one big, huge screen in the middle. And
yeah. I'm just not sure about the whole social distancing thing. I know AT&T Stadium and stuff like that. Like my son's football team, his high school team, we're playing at AT&T Stadium on the 24th. So
really,
yeah, the varsity team is. So that'd be fun.
But are you guys still experiencing a lot of shutdowns? Do you still have a lot of restaurants that are shut down? Is everything kind of open, but they can only have X seating?
Well, it depends. I stick in my area where I live, which is Burleson. And in Burleson, the restaurants are open. You walk into a couple of them, no one's wearing masks, including the servers, which kind of freaks me out a little bit. And then you go next door and everyone's wearing masks. So, It's kind of a mixed bag, but we only have 16 active cases of COVID in the town of Burleson right now. So we're not too, if you walk into Anson, I'm not going to tell you wear a mask. It's up to you. I'll wear one because I'm dealing with people from all over the place. But it's up to you guys. If you walk into Anson, we have them there for you. If you don't have them with you, you can put one on or not. But
so Texas lifted their mask mandate.
No, they have a mask mandate. They do. They're just, I don't think anyone's really enforcing it.
People are just kind of walking away from it, I guess.
That's one thing I noticed about moving to a red state from a blue state. It's like, hey, you know what? You want to do something really stupid and hurt yourself and kill yourself? You go right ahead and do that. We'll just stand back here and watch you do it.
Hell yeah.
So, well, that is sort of natural selection. This way, really is the way it should be.
Yeah, it really should be.
But that's the way we grew up when we were kids. We just did whatever we wanted.
Yeah. So it's definitely different living in a red state.
My wife and I took a little road trip around our state, and we ended up having to detour from some of our plans. We didn't really have much of a plan, but we ended up in our state capital, Pierce, South Dakota. So we had no clue, and the Gallatin RV park where we pulled in was just overly enthusiastic and loaded us up with a binder of things to do and see in the area. And she's like, here's a self-guiding tour for the state capitol building. And we're like, everything's open? And she's like, nothing's closed down.
Yeah.
So we went in and walked all through our state capitol building and quite honestly, nothing in South Dakota is shut down. And the state capitol building was so barren. My wife and I spent like an hour and a half in the building because it's really not that big. We only saw like 6 other people, and the 2 of those were the security team that checked us through the metal detector. And then those guys were so bored, all they wanted to do was sit and talk. Yeah. And when my wife bought some stuff in the souvenir stand, that gal wanted to do nothing but sit and talk because there was just hardly anybody out. Now, there was some rooms that we flat out couldn't go into because of 9/11, which was ironic because we were there on 9/11 as well. Huh. But those, like the Supreme Court room, we could go in the hallway outside, peek through the window. Even though court wasn't in session, we were no longer allowed to go into the courtroom out of session. Yeah. But it was a lot of fun. Then that night we hit a restaurant and we looked around and we're like, well, apparently nobody's social distancing here because they packed the house. Yeah.
And that's how it is where I'm at. They're not skipping tables. Some places do, but some places don't. And, you know, what can you do? I know that I'm not venturing out too far out of my circle, and I think for the most part, a lot of people are around here keeping to that. You know, my son has been in school for the last 2 weeks, in school, in person, and he wears a mask every day. He hates it, but he'd rather be at school and going to football practice after school than sitting on, you know, at home. It sucks.
Has there been any reported cases in the schools? And you guys have kids in school. I don't. So
if they did, my feeling is they're not going to report it.
Okay. I've heard that from other parents. Daniel, is that kind of what you're seeing?
My kids are at home. My kids are online training, but they, my kids are teenagers and they're the age of, that's what they would be doing if they had the choice anyway. You know, so they're perfectly happy being isolated, to be honest with you. It hit both of them at the right time. My son's a little more outgoing at this point, and he actually went out searching for girls yesterday, which was encouraging. Yay. So he set his buddy up with a girl that's in his band, and then they reciprocated and said, hey, we'll set you up with one of her girlfriends. And so they went out to meet these girls, which was good. I shouldn't be talking about this probably.
All right. Well, you know, we'll do a weekly COVID update because the world is changing and changing pretty fast, and everything's continuing. And it has a great effect on our income.
I got Karen'd.
Oh, Karen.
Yeah, I got Karen. Cop called me and left a message and said, "Oh, we got reports that you're not wearing masks." Well, my office staff wears masks. I don't. I'm working in the shop. I don't even want to talk to a customer. Right. Every once in a while, I get called out, you know, to look at and give the thumbs up or thumbs down to Tony the Tiger, and that's it. You know,
somebody turned you in.
Yeah,
I thought you were the Karen. I thought
no, I've been Karen'd. Yeah. I've been Karen'd. Someone turned me in for not wearing a mask.
And what did they say?
Hey, I just social distance. It's either one or the other, right? You don't have to wear a mask if you stay 6 feet away from me. Stay 6 feet away from me if I'm not wearing a mask. Just leave me alone.
That is a world that is...
Don't break the barrier.
To me. That world is so foreign to me. The thought of
California, you know what? I wish I could trade places with Vince. Because I think he'd be happier with where I'm at.
No, I don't think so.
All right, gentlemen.
Yes.
I think that brings us to a conclusion for this week.
Yeah.
And I'd just like to say one thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Upgrade your tools.
Oh.
Buy some Door Lords. Level up your tools, guys.
Don't do stupid stuff.
And keep it sturdy.
We'll see ya. Thanks.
Bye.
Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all the industry and tool-related news every week.
Don't forget to grab your Magnatech mat, available at most PDR tool distributors.